got something to tell you guys. When a woman or a man appears to be like perfect when you first meet them, it's trouble. I'm telling you, run. Because when I met the guy that I liked, I met him on like a single site, right? I'm not gonna say which one because I'll get myself in trouble. Excuse me. When we first met on the single site, talking, he let me know that he's going through a divorce and he's not ready to really start a relationship with anyone. And I was like, okay, you know, that's cool. I appreciate you letting me know that. But then I asked myself a question inside my head. I was like, why are you on a single site if you don't want to start anything with anybody, right? But I didn't say anything. I was like, I accepted it and I said, okay. So we would talk, you know, just light conversation. Every now and then we talk, we say hi, see how we doing, each other's doing and stuff like that, right? So then this all happened in like over a year. We kept in touch, just to check in, see how each other's doing. He sent me a Facebook request, a friendship request on Facebook. I accepted. And he would comment on different issues and subjects that I would bring up on Facebook and stuff like that. This happened it took a year. This happened in the midst of a year. And finally he shoots me an inbox message saying, you know what, I'm ready for a relationship. And I was like, are you divorced yet? And he was like, well, no, but you know, we have no communication, we not together or nothing like that, you know. So I was like, if you're sure, then okay, well then why don't we meet, you know? So I got myself together. He didn't have a car, so that should have been strike one, right? So I drove to where he was at. I took my sisters with me because I wanted to make sure I was safe, right? So I took two of my sisters with me, and we all drove to see him. And he was a beautiful man. I mean, he was sexy, attractive, fit, everything that a woman could probably want, I guess. His eyes were to die for, you know. And excuse me. He was staying with a husband and wife. He was living in their basement, but he was friends with the husband. They went to school together, I guess, or whatnot. And when he was while he was going through his divorce, he didn't have nowhere to stay, so he stayed with his friend. So I went to the friend's house. When I first saw him, I just fell in love right there, you know, because I slipped and fell, and he ran over to me. He picked me up. I mean, he was so loving and caring. He paid for everything. I didn't have to go into my pockets for shit. He paid for my sisters. He paid for the hotel room. He treated my sisters to dinner. Anything that my sisters or I wanted, he was right there to pay for. He was perfect, you know. And I thought that I was in love from the very beginning. I was like, oh my God, you know, he's treating me like a queen, you know. And what I say to people is, when somebody appears to be perfect, that's when you should run. Because it's an act. It's a motherfucking act. You know, he was more than accommodating. You know, I couldn't figure out how to work out the ice machine. He ran over and he got my ice, you know. I mean, he held my hand. He was just so fucking perfect. I was like, wow, you know. I wish I had ran, but I didn't. I'm hard-headed. So The second time I went down to see him, I saw a couple of red flags, but I overlooked it, which we should not overlook red flags, people. I'm telling you now. And you know, we had a little glitch, like a little argument about something that happened that I guess I got kind of like, it's hard to explain, because it's like when I met him, something in me like snapped. Like, I guess my body and my gut was trying to tell me to run, but I didn't listen to it. You know what I mean? I felt it in my gut that something wasn't right. And he bought something out in me that I didn't even know was there, you know. Like, as far as my personality goes, I'm like, is this me? You know, I had to look at myself. I'm like, what's going on? I couldn't stop myself, you know. I was just like, I had to cuss him out because I let him drive my car with me. I was in it, but he was driving bad. And I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You know, and I don't even talk like that to people, but I was like, what the fuck? You know, a lot of shit was coming out of me and I couldn't stop it, you know? So to me, you know, hindsight, I knew that was my alarm, my body's alarm going off. That's hindsight. At the time, I didn't know what the hell I'm like, did that just come out of my mouth? You know? And, you know, it just, everything, like the first time I met him, he would call me on my way home to check on me. When I got home, he would call to see if I made it. We would stay on the phone for hours, you know. We would FaceTime each other. I mean, he was so perfect and sweet. The second time, he kind of fell off a little bit because he got a phone call while I was there, and he was like, oh, I gotta go. And I was like, excuse me, I came all the way 2 hours away to see you, and you're gonna tell me you got to go? You're not gonna stay here until I get ready to leave? You know? So I caught an attitude behind it. So he was like, it's my boss. This was on a Sunday now. He's like, oh, it's my boss. He needs his truck and all this kind of shit. And I was like, bullshit. So he stayed with me. He didn't leave. You know, and that was a red flag right there. You know, and on my way, when I did go home and we left, you know, he didn't call me to see how I was doing. He didn't call me to see if I arrived at home. None of that happened. Okay, which was another red flag. So I noticed that right away. So when I did get home, I called him. And I was like, well, usually you call me to see if I've made it home, but you didn't call this time. I was busy. So now all of a sudden he's busy. Where before he was never, ever busy. He always had time for me. But after the second meeting, it's like I was busy. And I was like, okay, you know. So after the second meeting, it's like he did a whole 360. He was like a different person. He wasn't as accommodating. He wasn't as loving. He wasn't as friendly. He didn't pick up my calls right away. He didn't text me. We didn't talk or we didn't like FaceTime each other all night. Everything just started changing, you know. And I was like, what is going on here? You know what I mean? And I was like, okay, something's not right here, you know. My body was reacting bad to it, but I didn't listen to my gut. You should always go with your gut, ladies. But I was like, you know, when I would ask him different things, you know, he would be like, oh, you're crazy, that type shit, you know. And I was like, what? You know, and it was like really weird because for the whole year that we didn't meet, he was so sweet and perfect and accommodating. the calls, the FaceTiming. Anytime that I text him, he was there to respond. Everything was perfect. Anytime he called me, I was there. Everything was like perfect. We were getting along perfectly. And then after we met the second time, that's when things started going downhill. He started doing shit, saying shit, not having time for me. It's like I was seeing a different person after the second meeting, really. But instead, my silly ass still continued to hang in there, you know what I mean? The second time when I went to see him, I should have not, it should not have been a second time. It just should not have been a second time. And then if it was a second time, it shouldn't have been a third time. But instead, I ignored my gut and I kept going to see him. To make a long story short, I never knew what a narcissist was. I never even heard of the term narcissist. So what I did is I started Googling some of the shit that he would do, so his actions and stuff that he would say, and the word narcissism popped up. So of course, I never heard of the word, so I started doing my little investigation, my research, and I was like, oh my God. I was like, this is so him. Everything that is said about him or said about narcissism, I was like, this is so fucking him. You know what I mean? And I didn't want it to be. I kept telling myself, no, nah, this can't. No, he's not a narcissist. No, you know, I just kept saying that. I didn't want to believe it. I just simply did not want to believe that he was a narcissist. You know, and as I dove into it a little more deeply, I was in denial. I just kept saying that no, maybe he just is an asshole. He's not no narcissist, you know. Listen, this is a long story, so I'm gonna have to do like part 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, guys, I think people should hear my story of how I met a narcissist. I think it's gonna help some people out and show them things to recognize, you know, give them information. So I'm gonna end this video, right? And then I'll come back to you guys with like a part 2 about myself meeting a narcissistic Negro. Okay? Take care, guys. I love you. Toodles.